In this video, I will review Didn't See That Coming, Putting Your Life Back Together When Your World Falls Apart by Rachel Hollis. Regular viewers will know that I'm a big fan of Rachel's, and I've previously reviewed her other two books, Girl Wash Your Face and Girl Stop Apologizing. Keep watching to find out if I like this book too. Hi, I'm Linda and welcome to my YouTube channel, Better You Books, where I read and review books that help you to become a better version of yourself. In today's video, I will be reviewing Didn't See That Coming by Rachel Hollis. I will tell you more about the author, Rachel Hollis, the format of the book, my thoughts and key takeaways, as well as my favourite quote, before letting you know who I would recommend this book for and giving it a rating out of 5. So keep watching till the end to see what score I gave it. First of all, I want to apologise because I haven't done a video for a while, although I have actually read a lot of books recently, as you can see. So these will be coming up soon. Miracle Morning, Girl Boss, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, and Heal. So I've done a lot of reading, but I haven't had time to do my reviews. And some of you will know that's because I got made redundant this year, and I've spent the last month really focused on my job hunt. And it paid off because I start my new job next Monday. Okay, enough excitement, back to the review. Didn't See That Coming was released in September this year and it is a New York Times bestseller. I mentioned Rachel's other books earlier. I gave Girl Wash Your Face 4 stars and Girl Stop Apologizing 4.5 stars. Rachel's also written another book about health, which was actually due to be released this year. But when the pandemic came and everything went wrong in 2020, she decided perhaps now wasn't the best time for a book on health. So she delayed that to next year and she instead felt inspired to write Didn't See That Coming. I've always been amazed by how quickly Rachel gets stuff done, but even more so this time, it's incredible to think that she wrote this book during quarantine when she was trying to homeschool her 4 children. She was starting to go through a divorce and trying to save her business. So it's a little bit insane. Rachel's from California, but she now lives in Austin, Texas. She was married to Dave Hollis for 18 years, and I've previously reviewed his book, Get Out of Your Own Way. They have 4 children together, and as well as being an author, Rachel is also an entrepreneur, and she's always working on something new. This year, she released an app, which is all about health, called Rise. About Didn't See That Coming, Rachel writes, "This book isn't for everyone because not everyone has gone through something difficult. If you're in a tough season or still carrying around hurt in the past, I wrote this for you." This book is divided into 3 sections: what to do today, what to do tomorrow, and what to do forever. And at the end of each chapter, Rachel talks about things that have helped her. Topics covered include things like habits, perspective, and money. I read this book through the lens of someone who has been furloughed and made redundant this year. If you were reading this through the perspective of going through grief, then I'm sure you would get very different takeaways from this book. But here are my top 3 takeaways. Number 1, allow yourself to be disappointed. This lesson always seems to come up for me in slightly different forms in lots of different books that I read. Rachel writes, "Let's acknowledge how frightening this is and how hard it is, and how much we wish it weren't happening, and let's allow ourselves to be deeply disappointed by the unfairness of it all." She talks about not comparing your disappointment to others. She writes, "It wasn't small and it wasn't petty. It matters that you're disappointed because you matter." I found the last few months when I've been unemployed that a lot of my friends have been really reticent to talk about their job woes with me. And if they do, they always feel the need to preface it with, "I know I'm lucky to have a job." And whilst I really appreciate how sensitive they are to my feelings, I understand it. Just because you have a job doesn't mean that you can't be disappointed that you didn't get that promotion, or that you have to work really long hours, or that you have a terrible boss. Number 2, how is this happening for you and not to you? I think this idea is actually originally from Tony Robbins rather than from Rachel, but it is something I've been thinking about a lot this year. When I got furloughed, originally I felt rejected and I felt like I wasn't good enough. And when I went on to be made redundant, I was devastated and I was really worried about how long it would take me to find a new job. However, I did think, how are these things happening for me and not to me? Before I was furloughed, I was desperate for a break. I was burning the candle at both ends, and then when furlough happened, it was a great chance to reset. And I also started up this YouTube channel, which I love doing, but I would never have had the opportunity or the time to do if I was still working full time. And then when I got made redundant, yeah, it was terrifying because I've worked in travel for a long time and there were no travel jobs anymore. But then it made me think about what I really wanted for my future. And I decided I wanted to move back home to Wales. And I've also been thinking about working for a charity for a long time. So even though these things were both really hard, I honestly believe that both of them have led to something better for me. Finally, number 3, take care of yourself today so you can be stronger tomorrow. Rachel writes, I'm not obsessed with great habit creation because those habits make the good days better, though that's an incredible added bonus. I'm obsessed with great habit creation because they make the bad days bearable. I know for me, I did a lot of work on my personal development and mental health at the beginning of this year in terms of reading books and listening to podcasts and so on. And I really think that building that strong foundation helped me a lot going through difficult times this year. And a lot of my friends have commented by how resilient I have been. I love quotes, and this is my favourite one from the book. The obstacles we've overcome in our past don't make us weaker. I believe those trials make us warriors. First of all, I want to address a common misconception about this book. It is not a book about Rachel's divorce. A lot of people jumped to this conclusion when the book announcement was not that long after her divorce announcement, and a lot of people felt like she was cashing in by selling stories about her divorce. But it's not true at all. She's had so much hate online that it's completely unjustified. For example, I've seen a review on Goodreads about this book that was really scathing before the book even came out. And when pressed, the reviewer admitted they'd never even read the book. Rachel does mention her divorce in this book because she was editing this book while she was going through it. And it would seem perhaps a bit strange to have written a book about going through hard seasons and not to mention the current hard season she was going through. But it's hardly mentioned. The book is much more focused on grief. The book was really easy to read and I read it in a day. Even though it's a serious book, it doesn't take itself too seriously, and Rachel includes moments of levity and also tells a lot of stories to keep the readers engaged. I haven't gone through any trauma like Rachel has, like the death of her brother. So I was reading this book more through the lens of having lost my job, because she says that this book is for, a hard season which could include grief, but could also include divorce or loss of a job or so on. However, even though I do believe that there are commonalities between all of these, I think there are a lot of differences as well. And I think it would have been better to focus on these separately rather than to write a book trying to cover all of these different hard seasons. Some of the topics covered in this book are fairly standard personal development topics like perspective, habits, and mindset, but she does cover them with a slant towards grief. However, I feel like if you're a die-hard fan of Rachel's, then you've probably heard her talk about a lot of these things before. For example, if you've done her coaching or you've been to her virtual conferences or done the Next 90-Day Challenge and so on. The first time I heard her talk about perspective was when I'd just been furloughed, and it had quite a profound impact on me. However, it didn't so much in this book because it's not the first time that I was hearing about it. This isn't just a book about people getting through the other side. Rachel actually says that you can get through the other side and be a better version of yourself. And I don't think there is any right way to grieve, but I think that some people might find that triggering, especially if they read it too soon after their loss. But I think other people may find it really inspiring and it would help them. I cried a few times during this book, but it wasn't until the end that I really sobbed. It was when Rachel was talking about her brother's suicide, and I've heard her talk about this before, but never in so much detail or so raw and so honest. And it was really, really heartbreaking. So what did I think of this book? As always, I find Rachel's style easy to read and enjoyable, but I feel like the book was trying to be too many things to too many people. I do recognise though that I haven't gone through any really serious trauma, so if I was reading this book through that lens, I might have gotten more out of it. So what score am I going to give it? I'm going to give it 3.5 stars. I still got some good takeaways from it, but it's my least favourite of Rachel's books so far. I would recommend this book to someone who's going through a hard season and wants some help to stand back up. However, it's worth mentioning that although this is a standalone book, I do feel like it assumes some knowledge of Rachel's life. What do you think? Does this book sound like something you're interested in reading for yourself? If so, then drop me a comment below to let me know. If you prefer listening to books rather than reading them, Rachel narrated the audio herself for Audible. Rachel's also doing a book club for this book on Facebook and Instagram over the next couple of weeks. In my next video, I will review The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. Hal says if you follow the morning routine set out in this book, then you'll have more energy, less stress, improved health, and increased productivity. Sound good? Tune in next time to find out more. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then please click subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're the first to know about my future videos. If you're on Instagram, then give me a follow there as well. I'm at Betty Books and I post book inspiration and motivational quotes. I hope you have a wonderful week and I look forward to seeing you next time.